And as champion, I will get us moving on into the Nerd News Network. The one gamer to rule them all, so to
Yeah,
speak.
but at least I know my Pokemon, so.
We got a new Rings of Power trailer. Much more focused on
did.
Sauron. Lot of screen time for our boy.
Looked very interesting. There was so many things shown. Like, so there's obviously we know the rings are going to get made next. Like that's the next big part of the story. It seems to show a lot of this kind of realization of the power these rings hold, how corrupting it is. Obviously, going to start corrupting different people. We know Moria is going to fall this season, and the Balrog's going to escape.
Yeah.
Sauron's obviously manipulating things to get the rings made. We had that dark elf guy that I think we realized in season 1 was and I think if I remember correctly, he was a fresh character for the show.
Yes.
Seems like he's going to team up with Galadriel to fight Sauron, which is going to be interesting.
Yeah. Because we were under the impression he was working for Sauron this entire time.
I think it's a case of Sauron's like, or he's trying to double cross Sauron or something. I don't know. We've seen there's some new treants get teased in the trailer. We're gonna see. Obviously, Gandalf's character, who is yet to be named Gandalf, is obviously going to go off to see the wizards. I'm not even sure if there's a split moment where it shows Saruman, but young.
Oh, maybe.
Because he obviously would. He comes after Gandalf in like appearing on Middle Earth, if I remember correctly. But yeah, lots of action, lots of cool things. I'm looking forward to it. Well,
no update on our Hobbit friends.
So all we know about the Hobbits, really, and I don't think we're going to see much of the Hobbits that were left behind. The young girl, Kiri was her name? I'm forgetting now.
Yeah.
Who helped Gandalf. Obviously, she's going to be with him. But maybe we get a thing later on when she goes back home.
Yeah.
If she makes it back home. Presume she does.
Again, this one of them worlds I don't know a lot about. It looked fun as fuck. I'm well excited. I enjoyed the first season of Ring of Power so much. I'm really excited for season 2. It feels like it's coming at the right time.
We're going to get a lot of action. Now I'm thinking about it, I'm sure there was a moment in the trailer where you see spiders, which would be oh my god, I'm forgetting her name.
The big spider demigod that's like, because I remember reading about like the tiers of beings.
She's crazy powerful.
She's like the same tier as like Sauron, isn't she?
Yeah.
And that's why Sauron can't really fight her.
That's my god, so annoyed.
And like, it's a legitimate risk for Sauron to fight her because like may die.
Yeah, they're on the side. It's not worth it. And then actually, she is like the best gatekeeper for his back door he could ask for.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he doesn't expect a hobbit to kill her.
Yeah. I saw someone, because as it always happens for someone like this happens, you get a lot of the fandom on Twitter just telling their favourite stories. It's like, it's really funny because outside people who've interacted with hobbits, all the stories you hear about hobbits, because they basically don't really exist to normal people, is they just pop up, kill basically a god, and then disappear. You would be terrified of a hobbit.
Yeah,
if you even believed they existed, you'd be terrified.
The folktales of hobbits,
you'd think they're a myth.
You can see now, like the near enough towns that know of the hobbits, but they're like, oh, they're those weird folk that live in the hills. But no, they're like harmless. Someone will come into town and be like, wait, the hobbits live near here? They're those people that are like crazy dangerous. And they're just like, what are you on about? But yeah, it's
so funny.
I'm looking forward to it. I know there's going to be plenty of people that are going to be like, they're still ruining it. But just enjoy being in Middle Earth.
Like if you're just going to complain every week, don't watch it. Save yourself the headache and save us the headache.
If it bothers you, it's different to the book. Either get your head around the fact that like this is a alternate telling of this story, and be okay with understand that like this is not trying to be faithful. Just enjoy being Middle Earth, or like you say, stop watching it, stop complaining every week.
Yeah, it's crazy. Now, time for us to complain about something. This Kraven trailer.
Do you know what's funny? So obviously the news came out that there was a ton of reshoots and a ton of restructuring, and it's now a really compelling story and whatnot. I think they've shown us basically the whole story in the trailer, and they've already shown us all the coolest moments.
And once again, it seems like they're playing around with this idea that he's a hunter naturally, but he doesn't like hurting people. Which is not Kraven. Kraven's entire deal is I want to prove that I am the most dominant species of all because I can hunt anything. And he gets bored of hunting animals, so he starts hunting the rhino and Spider-Man and the lizard. Like, that's his entire... Kraven is an incredibly well-written and complex character, but he's also very simple to do an okay version of. Because the entire idea is he's a trophy hunter.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to make it, oh, I'm angry at Daddy? No, fuck off. I don't dislike the idea of Rhino being in this film. I dislike the design they've done of Rhino. I don't dislike the idea of Kraven finding out about this dude who is a rhino and being like, I must hunt him. That can work. I'm angry at Daddy. I'm angry at Russell Crowe doing a really weird Russian accent. No.
Do you know what I think is going to happen, though? I think the rhino thing's going to be like right near the end. And it's going to be like, oh my god, now he knows he's going to start hunting these heroes.
So apparently Rhino was never supposed to be in this film. Apparently he was supposed to be an end cutscene tease.
Oh, there's a surprise. That's part of the reshoots.
And they've reworked it with reshoots to bring
because
him
everyone
into the main
mocked
story.
the original trailer.
Yes. As I said, it seems like if they would have made this a film called The Hunter.
Yeah, it would have been a sick action film.
And they just sold it on being an action film instead of trying to do a Spider-Man villain film without Spider-Man. I probably would be at least like a little bit curious. But because I care about the characters, and don't get me wrong, like, you know, I'm big on you need to allow adaptations of characters to take place.
Yeah, yes, but there's adaptations, and then there's just this might as well just be a
fundamentally changing the core. Yeah, fundamentally changing the core of the character is fucking insane. Now, there's a number of different ways Rhino's been done. My personal preference is he's a mob enforcer who gets stuck in a really tough suit. It's very 60s. Guess what? It fucking works, though. Why are we doing the genetic mutation bullshit thing?
Yeah, here's the thing, right?
They should, if they want to do that style, just make him the lizard.
Yeah, either you have him in like the classic looking suit, where it's quite clearly a suit, and not what they seem to have done is like, oh, it's like he's in the classic suit with like the style of it, but it's just him, because it's like the face where it would normally be like obviously a suit face and would look okay, yeah, it looks a bit goofy, but it's a guy in a suit. Now it's just like that just looks goofy. Or to avoid that, it is not as cool, but like we've had the mechanical Rhino where it's like a robotic suit. Just stick with that because it's a bit safer.
I would much rather it be a suit. Yes, the mechanical suit I'd have my own issues with because the one they did in Amazing Spider-Man has soured me on the idea forever. But that's still better than, in my opinion, the genetic bullshit. Because we already have a Spider-Man villain who is genetically altered to be like a different animal.
Yeah. Have you seen though that from this trailer, the Twitterverse at least are finally realizing what Sony's doing. They're finally like seeing this trailer and going, oh, Sony's just doesn't care, and they're putting out all these like A-tier Spider-Man villain films, but just shoddy and don't care purely because they want to hold on to the license. They're like, suddenly it's clicked that they're like, oh, Sony's just doing this because they don't want to give Marvel the license. And also there's a theory that because Sony's using these characters, it then doesn't allow Marvel to use them.
So there is rumours, although completely unconfirmed as always, that based on the contract they have with Marvel, if they're developing a film
overlap.
about someone, there can't be overlap without it being discussed, at which point Sony would get a cut of the film. Because as you know, the Spider-Man films that are in the MCU, all the legwork is done by Disney, but it's paid for and the profits go to Sony. So, post-Endgame, Disney's biggest success is Deadpool and Wolverine, despite Spider-Man No Way Home being the biggest MCU film, because that was a Sony film. Sony get all the money from that.
Yeah.
So the idea is they start developing these films to try and bait Marvel into paying them to do it instead, and then they get to still claim all the money and Marvel will do the hard work, or they'll just go through and then they'll butcher the character a little bit because it doesn't hurt them.
Yeah, they
and the crazy thing is,
to keep the
there are people inside the Sony ecosphere who know how to do a good Kraven. Because guess what? They fucking did a good Kraven in Spider-Man 2. And what was his entire motivation? I'm bored of hunting. Let's go to New York where there's all these freaky things that I can hunt. Like, that is literally all it needs to be if you don't want to go, like, more in depth into, like, the psychological side of Kraven. You can literally just make it cool. Rhino, lizard. Fuck it, you could even do an Ultimate Universe version of Green Goblin where he's an actual giant fucking goblin. And you just go, Kraven wants to hunt him. Make that the film.
Yeah. I think I'm glad that some of the social media sphere are starting to realize what Sony's doing. But unfortunately, I think unless, like you've said in the past, Marvel gets to a point where they feel like they can say you're damaging our IP stuff, it's just not going to stop until this license actually gets to the end of its timeline, which I don't know when that is.
What license?
The rights or whatever.
Sony own the rights outright. There's an agreement. They own the rights.
Surely there's got to be an end date on it.
No,
even if it's ridiculous.
The only way they revert back is if Sony doesn't do anything with them for like 10 years.
When does Sony Spider-Man rights expire? Let's see. Oh, it's if they don't release the movie within 5 years. And 9 months. What a specific amount of time.
So yeah. They will always hold on to them.
There's got to be... like...
We will not get Spider-Man back fully under Marvel control until 2064 when he becomes public domain.
MCU will be long gone by then, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's really funny because in like less than 100 years, Marvel and DC are genuinely in trouble.
It's
because they have to keep adapting and changing the characters a little bit to like reset that 100-year. But then what, like in like 70 years, by like the 2090s, you're gonna have access to like legit versions of Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, X-Men. Then what?
Crazy. Yeah, it's wild.
Deadpool and Wolverine has crossed a billy.
Yes.
A cool billy. Billion with a B.
Yes, they put a post out.
A lot of fucking money.
Yes.
I'm not surprised.
No.
The film's good.
We called it straight away that it was going to happen. And
yeah. I thought it was going to happen even if it wasn't as good as it was. Just because of name value.
Yeah.
And then it's absolutely just blown that out of the water. I believe the current projection is it will finish at like 1.3, 1.4.
I'm loving all the... Channing Tatum's obviously, for whatever reason, on a few red carpets recently for different things. And like, I'm loving the constant questions of like, how's it been to play Gambit? And he's just like, I just felt like I got to be a kid and got to play this character that I wanted to play for you. He's had the best time.
He literally said in an interview he would kill kittens to get to play Gambit again. Like, that's a direct quote. He's like, I'd do some horrible things to be able to play Gambit again. I'd kill kittens.
As much as I would love for him to get that chance to play him again, I also don't think he should.
I don't think he should either. The problem is, People loved him, rightly so. He did an amazing job. The film made a fuck ton of money, and he is campaigning hard for it as well as fans. That's enough needle moving to make someone listen. But I agree. We
Here's
should go.
the thing.
When it comes to the X-Men, I want all of them, other than maybe a Professor X, to be unknown. I want them to go to Louisiana, find someone who actually speaks with a natural Cajun accent, even though he nailed it, and just.
I know this guy.
Hey, you.
Won't. But the guy that I sent you the TikTok of that does alligator tours in Florida or whatever, can he be it? Because everyone on his fucking TikTok's constantly talking about Gambit.
It's really funny because I've never heard a proper Cajun accent.
No, so I've only ever experienced it through Gambit.
Yeah, so like I've always just kind of taken X-Men 97 as face value. That's perfect because what else can I do? Obviously, Channing's was a bit different, but it was still similar. I was like, it sounds like he's done a pretty good job there. Yeah. Then I just went on TikTok and saw a bunch of people like, that was shit. And then you just have people going, I literally have lived in Louisiana.
He sounds like my uncle.
It's like, yeah, I know 12 people who sound like that. He's fucking nailed it. He's done a really good job of that. It was so weird hearing. And like people going, could anyone not understand him? That's crazy. I understood every fucking word he said. Yes, it was a thick accent, but I understood him. And they're like, no, he was like, did a really good job. He fucking nailed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want him to be like someone there to help the actor they do get.
Do you know?
So I think instill that passion.
You've also got to think though, by the time we're gonna get the X-Men, yes,
Channing Tatum's already like 45.
Don't get me wrong. He's one of these celebs that's probably gonna look great forever, but.
Oh my god, he's actually 44. Yeah.
But like we're gonna want a younger Gambit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Speaking of Spider-Man.
Yes. I'm never gonna forgive Sony, I don't think. Sony film, not animated, not games, Sony film might forever sit in the blackest part of my heart. So there are rumours suggesting that Spider-Man 4 may no longer be a grounded story with Kingpin as the antagonist, as once was assumed, and could be a multiverse story, or just a larger, big picture story again. So we reported previously that the debate between Sony and Disney were timeline and story.
Yes.
And Sony were like, well, it either has to be a big multiverse story or it needs to be out by 2025, I think. And Disney were like, we would like 2026 and we would like grounded. And they're like, well, you can have one. And it seems like Spider-Man's now coming in 2026, which I think means they appear to have given up a little bit on the story side of it. I still think they'll make it work. Yeah. But as I said to Hori in Twitter DMs, I just want my friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah, the rumor or idea now is that he will go off to uni or whatever, college, and gonna end up. It's gonna be they're gonna have to go with like, how do they handle this issue now that people have forgotten who he is with their bigger MCU characters or some like they're gonna come up with something like that, or maybe the TVA gets involved because he fucked around with the timeline essentially.
I really don't know, but
it's a shame.
Like don't get me wrong, I do still think it will be good.
Yeah,
but I was really excited for Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin up against Spider-Man.
Well, just think we were gonna have Daredevil dealing with Kingpin and all that gets up. You could have then had the next Spider-Man film also, like you could have had Daredevil get included in that, and like could have had some really fun stuff. And I do think like it will go down when like the MCU is looked back on, because the MCU's not gonna. I'd be shocked if this runs indefinitely. There's gonna come an end, but like it's gonna be looked back on like the MCU for comic book fans was almost perfect if they just had Spider-Man. Like they were so like like on a leash on that side of the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
And everyone will look at Sony and just be like, you ruined what could have been the greatest like era of comic films.
Yeah, it's purely that thing. They had to sell the Spider-Man rights because
they needed the money.
They needed to try and stay alive, and it just got screwed. I really wish Michael Jackson bought the rights, because God rest his soul, he would have passed away, and
they would have gone
they
back.
would have reverted back to Marvel.
Yep.
Just is what it is. Now this is fucking crazy, like genuinely batshit insane. And before I start, I have read, Hurry, that me and you are safe from this because this kind of clause is illegal in the UK.
Interesting.
So, a man is currently suing Disney for his wife who passed away due to an allergic reaction at a Disney venue. It wasn't Disney World, it was something else, Disney Springs or something. And Disney lawyers are trying to get the case thrown out. I'm sorry, not thrown out.
No.
They're trying to get it thrown out of court, but they're trying to put it into arbitration. Which is where where you have to like talk to them before it goes to court, because he signed up for the free trial of Disney Plus 2 years previously.
Yeah, so my understanding from what I've seen of other stuff, people explain it. So the wife had a severe allergy, made it very clear to the restaurant. The restaurant made it very clear that yes, we have taken all these precautions, to which then the wife went into anaphylactic shock and passed away. He is obviously now suing them. The way I saw, like, some obviously people, creators that are like lawyer like knowledgeable, one of them was like, I can guarantee this was an intern at the law firm who stumbled across, oh, this happened in this case, and thinks this is like, oh my god, I found gold for my like bosses. This is great for this, but this
is a promotion waiting to happen.
But for the public perception, this is like the worst opportunity that you could have done this. Like, this was the worst case to do this on. But yeah, they're trying to.
Like, have you seen all the memes of like, you know, the woman who's been on Joe Rogan and she talks about North Korea, but people aren't convinced she really knows what she's talking about because she says some outlandish things. And what people do is they meme her, but like, in England, you can't tweet without being arrested because people being arrested for tweeting racially insensitive things. And people like, in America, Disney can legally kill your wife.
So the terms and conditions is, if you sue Disney, it has to go through mediation or whatever the term is. Which basically, yeah, like you said, you sit down and you discuss it and basically settle in a room with someone that sits over and mediates it.
Yeah.
And it has to go through that before it can even go into court or anything. And they're obviously trying to do that because it's better for them publicly, and then they can try and settle in a back room.
Wild. Disgusting. If I'd lost my partner, fuck what any terms of service say, by the way, even if it like logically did hold up, if I've gone to your restaurant, we've properly informed you of the health concerns, and my partner has still died, and you try and say, oh no, we need to do mediation first, you might be joining her. What the fuck are you even trying to pull? That is insanity. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how a judge rules this. And also,
surely it's like 3 seconds of, you guys really need to fuck your ideas up.
The tough thing is, like, a judge unfortunately has to be impartial and go off.
True.
Like,
I don't think legally it holds up, though.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's like, if his lawyer can prove that it's not legally standing, because it could be a case of like, it depends how if it's the husband suing, or if it's like on behalf of the deceased wife
but also it's that there will be an implied in relation to this product or this service if
Well,
you try and sue
also,
us.
so this is
That's inherently implied.
the free trials from like 2 years ago. So you've also got to look at, like, all his lawyer needs to look in. Has there been a change to the terms of services since then that he would have had to re-accept? If so, then his terms of service is void. Also, is the, like, when you cancelled, what is the, like, when does it become void, or is it permanent?
Yeah, I signed up for the trial 10 years ago, and if Disney break GDPR and hold on to my thing, I still have to go through mediation.
I think the big thing will be if there's been at any point there's been an update, and obviously he wouldn't have accepted that update, then it's no longer valid.
I think off the public backlash, Disney will
have to
remove that.
You would like to think they would back down and remove that, but this is Disney.
Absolutely. I don't think they'll remove the clause in their terms of service, just to be clear. I think they'll just back down in this court case and not try and enforce it.
Depends.
And then I do genuinely believe sad news, because it does suck. Borderlands has bombed.
Yeah.
Incredibly hard.
It's earned like what, 3 to 5% of how much it costs to be made?
I believe its current box office globally is about 8.2 million of the 110 it costs to make, not including all of the money they've spent on marketing.
Yeah. It's like, obviously we mentioned last week when it had just come out and the critic reviews were like a 3% or whatever it was. Yeah. I then saw TikToks, it was like people being like, me on my way to go watch Borderlands, and then it's like a clip of them after, and they're like, no. They're just
I know a lot of
the
people
fans, the fans, like, things I've seen from them after the film, that they just look defeated, that was like not a good film or not a good representation of the game or whatever, and it's just like, you've just ruined kind of what we were. So
the critic score is now at 10% on Rotten Tomato, and the audience score is at 52.
It's more generous than I would expect, but
I've seen a lot of people claiming that it's worse than Madam Web, which I really struggle to believe. But I also know that I was more nitpicky about things that didn't make any sense, like the fucking CPR and the really bad ADR, than the average person would be. So maybe they think Madam Web was better than I think it was.
Well, you've also got to think, like, I know we're fans of the Borderlands franchise, but like, you've also got to think fans that would be as big of a fan you are about Spider-Man and all that universe, them seeing Borderlands get treated that way, obviously they're going to be like, this is atrocious. Yeah.
Absolutely insanely bad. Terrible news. Just as we thought we were on the upswing for video games getting good adaptations, it's just been burnt to the fucking ground.
It's fine. Last of Us will come along and remind everyone what's great.
Yeah. The good news is Fallout, Last of Us, and things like that are coming. They will remind us it can be done well. Maybe they're just not meant to be films. Maybe that's the thing.
Also, Amazon, maybe pay attention to this and don't mess up your Warhammer 40k project.
On God.